The vast chamber floated in the darkness between stars, its crystalline walls reflecting the light of distant galaxies. Inside, 12 different alien species sat around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. This was the Hegemony Council, the most powerful alliance in the known galaxy. Admiral Keth stood before the massive viewing screen, his forearms crossed behind his back. His purple skin glistened under the chamber's lights as he watched the small blue planet spinning slowly in space. Earth looked so peaceful from this distance, but Keth knew better. He had been watching this world for 30 years. "Look at them," Keth said, his voice deep and rumbling. 50 years ago, they barely had rockets. Now, they have colonies on 3 worlds and mining stations throughout their solar system. Commander Nyx, a snake-like being with scales that changed color with her mood, hissed softly. Her scales were currently dark red, showing her anger. "They are dangerous, Admiral? No species has advanced this quickly since the Great War." The other council members murmured agreement. General Voss, whose people looked like walking trees, creaked as he leaned forward. "The humans fight constantly among themselves, yet they somehow work together when they need to. This is unusual behavior." On the viewing screen, images of Earth flashed by. Cities full of lights, ships launching into space, and humans working on massive construction projects. The aliens had been watching everything through hidden sensors placed throughout the solar system. "They are like the Karathi," whispered Elder Zim, her tentacles writhing nervously. "Remember what happened to the Karathi homeworld." The chamber fell silent. Everyone remembered the Karathi. They had been a peaceful species until they were pushed too far. When they finally fought back, they had destroyed 3 star systems before the hegemony could stop them. That was 500 years ago, and those star systems were still empty. Keth turned back to the council. "That is exactly why we must test them now, while they are still weak. We have done this 17 times before. Each time the species either joined us peacefully or broke under pressure. Either way, they were no longer a threat." Dr. Yeeks, the council's chief scientist, projected new images into the air. "Our studies show that humans have something we call aggressive cooperation. When threatened, they stop fighting each other and work together. This makes them very dangerous, or very weak," Keth argued. "Species that depend on cooperation usually collapse when that cooperation fails. We simply need to apply the right pressure." On Earth, Captain Junho Park walked through the corridors of Luna Base, completely unaware that alien eyes were watching his every move. He was checking the night shift reports, making sure everything was running smoothly at humanity's largest off-world facility. "Sir," called Lieutenant Eugen Hahn, jogging to catch up with him. "The mining reports from the asteroid belt are ready for your review." Junho nodded and took the tablet. The numbers were good. Humanity was pulling more resources from space than ever before. Iron, platinum, rare earth elements, everything needed to build more ships and expand further into the solar system. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Hyjin Kim was working late in her laboratory in Seoul. She was testing a new type of fusion engine that could cut travel time to Mars in half. Her team had been working on this project for 3 years, and they were finally close to a breakthrough. "Dr. Kim," said her assistant Dongmin, "the latest test results are ready." Hyjin looked at the data on her screen and smiled. The engine was working better than expected. Within 6 months, they could have ships reaching Mars in just 2 weeks instead of 8. Back in the Alien Council chamber, the debate continued. Some members wanted to attack immediately. Others suggested waiting longer to study humanity, but Keth had already made up his mind. "We will begin with economic pressure," he announced. "Cut off their trade routes, disable their communication satellites, make their colonies suffer. If they are like the other species we have tested, they will beg for mercy within months. And if they do not?" asked Commander Nyx. Keth's 4 eyes glowed with cold light. Then we will escalate until they break. No species has ever survived our full attention. The vote was taken quickly. 10 species voted yes, 2 abstained. The decision was made. Elder Zim spoke one last time, her voice barely a whisper. I have lived for 800 years and watched civilizations rise and fall. There is something different about these humans. Something we do not understand. Then we will teach them to fear us, Keth replied, just as we have taught all the others. The council session ended, and the aliens began to disperse to their ships. Hidden throughout the solar system, alien vessels powered up their weapons and moved into position. The test was about to begin, on Luna Base. Captain Junho Park finished his rounds and looked out through the observation window at Earth, hanging in the starry sky. He had no idea that this might be one of the last peaceful nights humanity would know for a very long time. The first sign of trouble came at 0300 hours, Earth time. Commander Minho Lee was drinking coffee on the bridge of the cargo ship. Soldan when his communications officer suddenly went pale. Sir, we've lost contact with Mars Control, the young officer reported, his voice shaking slightly. All channels are dead. Minho frowned and walked over to the communication station. He had been running supplies between Earth and Mars for 5 years, and the comm systems never went down completely. Try the emergency frequencies. Already did, sir. Nothing but static. 3 hours later, things got worse. The Europa mining station stopped responding to calls. Then the asteroid belt refineries went silent, one by one. By the end of the day, Earth had lost contact with half of its off-world operations. On Earth, President Soyoung Choi sat in the emergency briefing room deep beneath Seoul. The faces round the table showed worry and confusion. Defense Minister Hyan Woo? Nam was speaking, but his words painted a grim picture. 17 facilities have gone dark in the past 24 hours, he said, pointing to a holographic map of the solar system. We've sent scout ships to investigate, but none have reported back. Could it be solar interference? Asked Science Advisor, Dr. Jin-A Park. No, replied Admiral Sang-Ho Kim, the head of Earth's small space navy. The pattern is too organized. Someone is deliberately cutting our communication lines. President Choi leaned forward. Are you saying we're under attack? Before anyone could answer, an aide rushed into the room. Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the cargo ship Soldan. They say they're under attack by unknown vessels. The Soldan. Commander Minho Lee watched in horror as sleek alien ships emerged from behind Jupiter's largest moon. The vessels were unlike anything he had ever seen, smooth and curved like teardrops, with no visible engines, but moving faster than any human ship. Unknown vessels. This is Commander Lee of the Earth cargo ship Soldan. He broadcast on all frequencies. Please, identify yourselves. The only response was weapons fire. Bright beams of energy lanced out from the alien ships, striking the Soldan's hull. The cargo ship shuddered, and alarms began screaming throughout the vessel. All hands to escape pods. Minho shouted over the noise. This is not a drill. He stayed on the bridge, trying to send one last message to Earth. Mayday, Mayday, this is Soldan. We are under attack by unknown alien vessels. They appear to be. The transmission ended as the Soldan exploded in a ball of fire and twisted metal. Back on Earth, the message sent shockwaves through every government. For the first time in human history, Earth was facing an enemy from the stars. Within hours, emergency sessions were called in every major capital. But something unexpected happened. Instead of panic and blame, the nations of Earth came together. Old enemies put aside their differences. The Terran Defense Coalition, which had been little more than a peacekeeping force, suddenly became humanity's unified military command in a hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Engineer Del Suyun worked frantically with his team. They were converting civilian ships into warships, adding weapons and armor as quickly as possible. It was desperate work, but it was all they could do. "We need more plasma cutters welded to the hull of the mining ship," Busan Pride, Dalsu called out to his workers. "If we can't match their technology, we'll have to use what we have." Meanwhile, Dr. Hyjin Kim found herself studying fragments of alien technology that had been recovered from attack sites. The metal was unlike anything on Earth, stronger than steel, but lighter than aluminum. The energy weapons used some kind of focused plasma that could cut through ship hulls like butter. "Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours," she told the research team. "But it's not magic. Every weapon has weaknesses." 3 days after the first attacks, Captain Junho Park stood on the observation deck of Luna Base, watching Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet take shape. Ships that had been built for mining and exploration were now bristling with weapons. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Sir Lieutenant Yujin Han approached with a report. "The aliens have destroyed 6 more supply convoys. They're targeting anything that moves between planets." Junho nodded grimly. The aliens were clearly trying to starve Earth's colonies into surrender. It was a smart strategy: cut off the food and supplies, and the colonies would have to choose between fighting or dying. But they had underestimated human stubbornness. "Send a message to all colony commanders," Junho ordered. "Tell them to hold their positions. Help is coming." On Mars, Colony Director Yoon Ji-seo received the message and smiled. Her people were scared, but they weren't giving up. The hydroponic farms were working overtime, and the miners were volunteering for extra shifts. They would hold out as long as necessary. The aliens had wanted to test Earth's resolve. What they got instead was something they hadn't expected: a species that became more dangerous when threatened, not weaker. The first strikes had been meant to break humanity's spirit. Instead, they had awakened something the galaxy had never seen before. Admiral Keth stared at the battle reports with growing frustration. 3 weeks had passed since the first attacks, and the humans were still fighting. Worse, they were getting better at it. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his aide, a thin creature with 6 arms, who constantly typed on multiple data tablets. 47 vessels, Admiral. The humans are using tactics we did not expect." Keth's 4 eyes narrowed. 47 ships was more than they had lost in their last 3 conquests combined. These humans were supposed to be primitive, barely out of their home system. Yet they had managed to destroy nearly 1/10 of his fleet. "Show me the latest engagement," Keth ordered. The holographic display showed the battle near Europa. A human mining ship had been converted into a warship, bristling with primitive kinetic weapons. When the alien cruiser approached, expecting an easy victory, the human ship had done something unexpected. It rammed the alien vessel at full speed, while firing everything it had. Both ships were destroyed. But the alien cruiser had been worth 10 times more than the human vessel. "They trade their lives too easily," muttered Commander Nix, her scales now a worried shade of yellow. "This is not normal behavior." On Luna Base, Admiral Junho Park felt the entire station shake as alien plasma cannons struck the surface. He had been promoted after his successful defense of several supply convoys, and now he commanded Earth's most important off-world facility. "Damage report," he shouted over the noise of alarms and explosions. "Section 7 is breached, sir," called out Lieutenant Yujin Han, her face covered in dust from falling debris. "They're targeting the main reactor." Through the reinforced windows, Junho could see the alien ships circling the base like predators. Their weapons carved deep craters in the lunar surface, sending rocks and metal flying into space. "Sir, we need to evacuate," urged Lieutenant Han. "The base won't hold much longer." Junho looked around the command center. This base represented 20 years of human work and dreams. It was humanity's first real foothold in space, and he wasn't going to give it up without a fight. "Begin evacuation procedures for all non-essential personnel," he ordered. "But I'm staying." "Admiral," You can't. That's an order, Lieutenant. As the evacuation shuttles launched, carrying hundreds of people to safety, Junho stayed behind, with a skeleton crew. But he wasn't planning to die uselessly. He had an idea that might just work. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Hyejin Kim was making discoveries that would change everything. In her laboratory, she studied pieces of alien technology recovered from destroyed ships. The metal was incredibly advanced, but the design philosophy was completely different from human engineering. "Look at this," she told her assistant, pointing to a piece of alien hull plating. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, plasma, lasers, particle beams, but they barely protect against simple kinetic attacks." "You mean bullets and missiles?" "Exactly. They've become so advanced that they forgot about basic physics. A chunk of metal moving fast enough will punch through their shields like paper." This information was immediately sent to engineer Dal Su-yoon, who was frantically working to arm more civilian ships. His latest creation was a converted passenger liner called the New Soul, now equipped with magnetic railguns that could fire tungsten rods at incredible speeds. Back on Luna Base, the alien attack was reaching its climax. The reactor was failing, and sections of the base were venting atmosphere into space. Junho waited until the last moment, then activated the mining charges that were normally used to excavate lunar rock. The explosion was massive. The entire northern section of Luna Base disappeared in a cloud of debris and fire. But Junho had timed it perfectly. 3 alien cruisers were caught in the blast, their ships torn apart by chunks of flying metal and rock as his escape pod launched toward Earth. Junho watched the alien ships retreat. They had taken the base, but at a cost they hadn't expected. The aliens were learning that humans didn't just fight. They learned from every battle and adapted their tactics. When energy shields proved effective, humans switched to kinetic weapons. When alien ships proved faster, humans used ramming attacks. When conventional tactics failed, humans tried unconventional ones. Sergeant Taeho Shin was the first to volunteer for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. His fighter had been loaded with nuclear warheads and stripped of everything except engines and life support. "You don't have to do this," Admiral Sango Kim told him before the launch. Taho smiled. "My daughter lives on Mars colony, sir. If we don't stop them here, they'll kill her next." The sergeant's fighter screamed through space toward the alien flagship, dodging plasma fire and missiles. His ship was hit multiple times, trailing fire and debris, but he kept flying. At the last second, he aimed for the flagship's hangar bay and triggered the nuclear charges. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. When the light faded, the alien flagship was gone, taking with it the command structure of the entire alien fleet in the Hegemony Council chamber. Admiral Keth received the news with growing horror. The humans had just destroyed his most powerful ship using a tactic no civilized species would consider deliberate suicide attacks. "Admiral," his aide reported nervously, "we're receiving requests from the other council members. They want to know when this test will end." Keth stared at the tactical display, showing human ships spreading throughout the solar system, growing stronger with each passing day. The horrible truth was becoming clear. They weren't testing humanity anymore. Humanity was testing them. 6 months had passed since the first alien attack, and everything had changed. Admiral Junho Park stood on the bridge of the battleship New Soul, humanity's first true warship built from the ground up for combat. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of over 200 human vessels spread across 12 star systems. "Dr. Kim, are the new weapons ready?" he asked, turning to the chief scientist who had become his most trusted advisor. Dr. Hyejin Kim smiled as she checked her tablet. "The kinetic railguns are fully charged, Admiral. Our tests show that alien energy shields can't stop tungsten rods moving at 15% of light speed." The human fleet had grown far beyond anyone's expectations. Every day, more ships joined the fight. converted cargo vessels, rebuilt mining ships, and brand new warships built in hidden facilities throughout the solar system. But the real change wasn't in numbers, it was in knowledge. Captain Yunwu Nam piloted his fighter squadron through the asteroid belt, using the rocky terrain in ways the aliens had never considered. His ships were smaller and more agile than the alien fighters, and they knew how to hide among the floating rocks. Tiger Squadron, this is Tiger 1, he spoke into his radio. Enemy cruiser approaching from Sector 7. Remember, they can't track us if we stay close to the asteroids. The alien ship moved slowly through the asteroid field, its sensors confused by all the metal and rock. The aliens had superior technology, but they fought like they expected everything to be clean and organized. They didn't understand that humans had learned to fight dirty. Yunwu's fighters struck from 6 different directions at once, their missiles hidden behind asteroids, until the last second. The alien cruiser's shields flickered and failed under the surprise attack, and the ship exploded in a ball of fire on the captured alien station that humans now called Victory Base. Colonel Ji Hai-song led her Marines through the corridors. The aliens who built this place were taller than humans, so everything felt oversized and strange, but her soldiers had adapted quickly. Remember, she told her team over the radio, their personal weapons are designed for energy absorption. Our old-fashioned bullets work just fine. The alien defenders fell back as the human Marines advanced. They had never faced an enemy that could turn their own base against them. Colonel Song's engineers had figured out how to use the alien computer systems, and now the station's weapons were firing on alien ships instead of human ones. But humanity's greatest advantage wasn't technology or tactics. It was something the aliens couldn't understand. Every defeat made humans more determined, not less. Every loss was studied and learned from. Every victory was shared with the entire fleet. Engineer Dul Su-yoon worked day and night in the shipyards of Mars, building vessels that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. His latest creation was a hybrid drive system that let human ships move faster than anything the aliens had. The key, he explained to his team, is that we don't try to copy their technology exactly. We take what works and combine it with what we know. They think in straight lines. We think around corners. The tide had truly turned when intercepted alien communications showed something humans had never expected: panic. The mighty Hegemony Council was afraid. Admiral Keth's latest message to his commanders was desperate. All units fall back to defensive positions. Do not engage human forces unless absolutely necessary. Repeat, avoid contact with human vessels. But it was too late for defensive strategies. The humans had learned to hunt. Captain Min-ji Lee commanded a small squadron of stealth ships that had been hunting alien supply convoys for weeks. Her ships were painted black and equipped with sensors copied from alien technology. They moved through space like ghosts, striking quickly and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Contact ahead, her sensor operator reported. Alien supply convoy, 6 ships with 2 escorts. Are they carrying food or weapons? Min-ji asked. Looks like both. Captain Min-ji smiled. Perfect. Attack pattern Delta. Hit them fast and get out. The alien convoy never saw the attack coming. Human missiles appeared from empty space, striking the supply ships before they could raise their shields. The escort vessels tried to fight back, but the human ships were already gone, vanishing into the darkness between stars. These attacks were happening throughout alien space. Their supply lines were breaking down, their communications were being intercepted, and their soldiers were losing the will to fight. 3 of the 12 hegemony species had already withdrawn from the alliance. 2 more were sending secret messages to Earth, asking for peace negotiations. The great alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years was falling apart. In the Hegemony Council chamber, Admiral Keth faced his fellow commanders for what he knew would be the last time. The holographic displays showed human ships advancing on multiple fronts, and there was nothing left to stop them. "How did this happen?" demanded General Voss, his tree-like form creaking with stress. "They were supposed to be primitives." "They were primitives," Keth replied quietly. "We taught them to be warriors." Elder Zim spoke with her ancient voice. "I warned you. These humans are different. They don't just adapt to war, they become war itself." Outside the chamber, human ships approached the council station. The test was over, and humanity had won. But the galaxy was about to learn that victory could be more dangerous than defeat. The war ended not with a great battle, but with silence. Admiral Junho Park stood on the bridge of the captured Hegemony flagship, watching alien crew members surrender their weapons to human marines. The massive ship that had once terrorized the galaxy now flew the blue and white flag of Earth. "Admiral," reported Captain Yunwoo Nam, "we're receiving surrender messages from 7 different species. They want to negotiate terms immediately." Junho nodded slowly. In 18 months, humanity had gone from defending their home system to controlling a quarter of the galaxy. It still felt unreal to him. Through the flagship's windows, he could see the wreckage of what had once been the most powerful fleet in known space. Broken alien ships drifted in the darkness, their crews either dead or captured. The Hegemony Council's final stand had lasted less than 6 hours. On Earth, President So-Young Choi addressed the world from the United Nations building in New York. Behind her, holographic displays showed the new map of human space, dozens of star systems, now under Earth's protection. "My fellow humans," she began. "Today marks the end of the Hegemony War, but more importantly, it marks the beginning of our responsibility to the galaxy." The reaction across Earth was mixed. Some people celebrated in the streets, dancing and singing as news of victory spread. Others worried about what came next. Humanity had become the most powerful force in the galaxy almost overnight, and power brought new dangers. Dr. Hyjin Kim stood in her laboratory, now located on the captured alien research station. Around her, human and alien scientists worked together, sharing knowledge that had been hidden for centuries. The aliens who had surrendered were eager to help, hoping to avoid the fate of their former leaders. Doctor called her assistant, showing her a translation of alien historical records. "You need to see this. The Hegemony has destroyed over 300 civilizations in the past 1,000 years. Hajin felt sick as she read the reports. Entire species wiped out because they refused to submit. Worlds turned to glass by orbital bombardment. The aliens who had tested humanity were not just conquerors. They were genocidal monsters. But 2 species had refused to surrender, and they represented humanity's greatest challenge yet. Admiral Keth, of the Valian Empire, had retreated to his people's homeworld with the survivors of his fleet. He knew that surrender meant the end of Valian dominance, and he would rather die than live under human rule. "Prepare the planet killer," he ordered his weapons officer. "If we cannot rule the galaxy, then we will deny it to the humans." The planet killer was the Hegemony's most feared weapon, a massive device that could destroy entire worlds. They had used it only twice in their history, both times to make examples of species that had refused to submit. But humanity had been watching. Captain Minji Lee's stealth ships had been tracking Valian movements for weeks, and they had detected the weapon's energy signature long before it was ready to fire. "Command, this is Shadow 7, she reported over the encrypted channel. "The Valians are charging a planet-killer device. Target appears to be Earth." The response came immediately from Admiral Park. "All available ships, converge on Valian space. We end this now." The final battle was brief, but decisive. Captain Yunwoo Nam led his fighter squadrons directly into the planet-killer's core, sacrificing his ship and crew to destroy the weapon from within. The explosion lit up the Valian system like a new star, taking Admiral Keth and his dreams of revenge with it. With the Valians defeated, the last Hegemony species simply vanished. The Zephyrians, who had started the war by convincing the Council to test humanity, fled to unknown regions of space rather than face human justice. 6 months later, President Soyoung Choi stood in what had once been the Hegemony Council chamber. But now it was different. Instead of 12 species ruling over hundreds of others, representatives from dozens of formerly enslaved civilizations sat around a new table, the Galactic Council of Free Worlds. The Terran Protectorate is not an empire, she announced to the assembled delegates. We will not rule you, as the hegemony did. We will protect you, help you rebuild, and ensure that no one ever again faces the choice between slavery and extinction. The smaller species that had lived in fear for centuries finally felt safe. Humanity had proven that they would fight to protect others, not just themselves. The same determination that had defeated the hegemony now worked to rebuild what the aliens had destroyed. Engineer Dal Soo-yoon designed new cities where humans and aliens could live together as equals. Dr. Ha-jin Kim established research centers where different species could share knowledge freely. Colonel Ji Hai-song trained mixed units of human and alien soldiers to defend the new alliance. But the galaxy remembered the lesson of the war. At the edge of known space, where rumors traveled faster than ships, a new saying spread among the starfaring races: do not test the children of Earth. They are stronger than they appear, and once awakened, they do not sleep again. The hegemony had wanted to test Earth's resolve. They had learned too late that some tests have only one outcome: the complete destruction of those foolish enough to attempt them. Humanity had passed their test.